Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I am Indie Pride, and here at the Golden Dildo of the Gods, Big Daddy Doombull and the Minobus have come out to play. Doombulls are the fathers of rage, lords of all Minotaurs, and the strongest and most ferocious of their kind. They were not included in the Call of the Beastmen DLC, much to my chagrin, so we're using the all Tabletop Lords mod for this one. My Doombull is almost fully kitted out, rocking with a Manbane standard, an ever-rotting corpse beset by carrion birds in an obscene parody of a scarecrow, granting -4 leadership in a 55-meter radius, and the brass cleaver, an artifact spewed straight from the warp that screams for blood, granting +8 melee attack in a 40-meter radius. Combined with Slaughterer's Call, which also grants +8 melee attack in an AoE, this Minobus will be operating with some pretty substantial buffs for this one, so keeping them compact, keeping them in a big, terrifying blob of Minotaurs will be the game plan here. Hands down, one of the most satisfying army builds you can run in Total War Warhammer, and you'll see why in a minute. Through the howling icy wind wait the Empire forces of Middenland, led by their Electric Count Boris Todbringer and some Demigryph Knights with lances. Pharaoh O' War is my opponent. He has his own YouTube channel, link will be in the description below, but the Demis are an interesting choice here. In most situations, I would say, especially against Beastmen for sure, I would typically recommend Halberd Demis, but he might have expected a pure infantry rush, in which case the Lance variant could have performed very well. We'll see how that goes. He also has a Lord of Shadows caster with Occam's Mind Razor, which grants +44% weapon damage, +36% armor piercing damage, one of the best DPS spells in the game, so that can turn any Empire State troop into a serious damage dealer in melee. And he also has the Hammer of the Witches, with a gigantic 100 damage bonus versus large, which against infantry or cavalry, that bonus is kind of wasted, because a great cannon shot is typically enough to bring down any models it touches, but against Cygors, Giants, or Minotaurs, low model count units with higher HP per model, that bonus really comes into effect, and it can slaughter any monstrous units that it comes into contact with. So I'll have to be very careful with my Minotaurs in this one, if I want to get into melee with the Minobus still intact. So I'm moving up now, keeping my Minotaurs and my large units out of range of the Hammer of the Witches. Get another good look at my Doombull here. Really cool looking model on him. And you can see he's even bigger than the Gorebulls. I have 2 Gorebulls as well, and a couple of Chaos Warhounds with poison, just to get around behind, maybe imbue some of that poison on something important like a Demigryph Knight, or simply get them into the rear and shut down those handgunners, which I was definitely expecting from my opponent. Putting a double fast forward for just a second here as we move into position. You can see my Minotaurs are moving out to the flank, trying to get around behind the Middenheim army before I take too much damage or even get into range. My Gorebull is going to get a little bit too close and take a shot to the flank. Did about 500 to 600 damage to him, so not a gigantic deal, but if he takes too many more shots like that, it will certainly not be good for me. I need to move into melee ASAP, though. He does have me outranged, of course, and he could kind of charge me with impunity with those Demigryph Knights. So closing into melee is going to have to happen, and that means I'm going to have to get into range of the Hammer of the Witches. And unfortunately, that means at least one group of Minotaurs will probably close into melee with some serious damage done to it. So these ones have entered range now. Hammer of the Witches about to open up with their second salvo. The first cannonball from that salvo will do quite a bit of damage. Look at that. Leadership already dropping quite a bit and taking out 3 models. Not completely killing them, but one more shot from the Hammer of the Witches for sure, or even a volley from handgunners will drop those. It only leaves about 100 HP left on each model after it lands a shot. So yeah, pretty devastating with that 100 bonus versus large, and this next group of shots is going to be really bad for those Minotaurs. And I basically just have to sack them and understand that at least one Minotaur unit will be making close to 0 impact on this game. But as long as the Hammer of the Witches doesn't continue firing once I'm in melee, it's all good. It's basically a wash on that front if I'm able to shut it down once I'm in melee. Poison Warhounds are scooting around the flank to harry those silver bullets and Empire handgunners, and Doombull charge into the center of the bracing halberdiers, eviscerating any unfortunate soul gets too close. But that's a dangerous spot to be in. A lot of armor piercing in the vicinity. Minotaurs tend to roll forward a lot in melee, and that can carry them directly into a spot they can't really pull out of, and those demis close in might not have that bonus versus large with their halberds, but they do have armor piercing and great melee stats, so already a bit of a miss micro there as the Minotaurs on the main line charge in. Remember, it's really important to have meat shields up front, like these Ungor Spearmen herd. They won't do any damage, but they do soak up fire and melee attacks so the Minotaurs can wade in and do splash damage without being surrounded by enemy models. It is hugely important when using monsters to meat shield with something else. Without it, they'll often wade too far into melee and take a bunch of unnecessary damage. Same principle applies to crypt horrors and even giants as well. They perform much better when supported by infantry. Minotaurs and a Gorebull wheeling into position, Blood Greed overtaking them as they charge downhill. They can smell it, they can taste it, and a Crimson Feast awaits them. So satisfying to watch Minotaur charges, man. One of my favorite things in Total War Warhammer, and we can say good night to those silver bullets because I cannot imagine many of them will escape that nightmare. Chaos Warhounds and the Doombull going to work on some great swords in the back lines and halberds all over the place. Just absolute carnage. Bedlam here in the Chaos Wastes or Norska or wherever the hell we are. I'm not actually sure where the Golden Monolith is. But my Minotaurs have made it into the rear and are starting to punch through the front. Occam's Mindrazor did a number on a few of my Minotaurs from that Lore of Shadows caster, making those Empire State troops much more effective in melee. But my Minotaurs are definitely doing a good job here. Empire State troops having a hard time holding the line. And my Doombull is pulled out of melee and is looking for that Lore of Shadows caster front line. We're getting to collapse just a little bit here. Demis are routing. Oh, but Hammer of the Witches just got some point-blank shots off, and I have to deal with that crew. Those point-blank shots, if they carry through multiple models on my Minotaurs, could drop pretty much the entire unit in 1 or 2 shots. Now the Lore of Shadows caster getting smacked around by the Doombull, who was taking a lot of HP damage. I did not micro him particularly well in that first engagement. The Demis and the Halberds together did quite a number on him, and he can't regen his health, but he is doing some decent damage at this point in the battle. Some of the handgunners have rallied. Same with the silver bullets, but only a handful of them left. Most of them were dismembered and cut to pieces by the gigantic weapons of my monstrous infantry. Ungor Spearmen herd and some of the Minotaurs in the back lines. And stand your ground for Boris Todbringer gets popped. Doing everything in his power to anchor the line. And that Lore of Shadows caster is being straight up bullied by the Doombull, tossed around like a ragdoll, and at this point, he has 2 choices. Run like hell, or get turned into bull food. I bet he runs. Another punishing charge coming in here, painting the ground red with the blood of Middenland state troops. Beautiful, goring charges from these Minotaurs, and now I have to turn my attention to those handgunners and silver bullets in the back that are trying to get some pot shots in. Not very many of them left, but what is left could do a decent amount of damage if I don't focus them down. So another charge coming in here, turning them into red mist, and that will soon send the rest of these range units running for the hills. That said though, this game is not remotely in the bag yet, still very much in the balance. Great swords, halberdiers, a lot of armor piercing still left on the field for the Empire, and Boris Todbringer at full HP, and he hasn't taken much damage at all. All my Lord characters, my Lord and my 2 heroes, both very low, seeing some Empire State troops get tossed up into the air, and that huge, gigantic axe just cutting a swath of destruction through the Empire main line. But my Doombull is very low HP, I think around 1500 or so. The Gorebulls, each below 1000. Nice rear charge coming in. Oh man, that is so much fun to watch. Beautiful rear charge. Again, stand your ground getting popped here. And Minotaur charge from the rear. This could be enough to turn things into my favor. Oh my god, that's so satisfying. I love that. Okay, so where is Boris Todbringer at the moment? The halberds are going to start wavering from that. Great swords probably not going to stick around for too much longer either. Boris at full HP. Look at the HP of my Gorebulls and my Doombull though. Very, very low. Only a couple more attacks from Boris could be enough to kill any of these models. But 2 Gorebulls and the Doombull all ganging up on Boris. That's going to be a really tough fight for him. And he is starting to take some damage, and his leadership is dropping as blood fountains all around him from his brothers, his comrades in arms. Can Boris carry the day for the Empire? There's a decent amount of Minotaurs still on the field. And the Gorebull and the Doombull are not routing. They're actually going to survive here. Send Boris running and the rest of the army leaving Norska, forcing them out of their home turf. And the Beastmen will take the battlefield. Really close game there at the end. My Gorebull and my Doombull look at their HP. Just slivers of HP left, each below 1,000 HP. If they had died there, if my Doombull had gone down just a little bit earlier, might have been enough for the Empire to take it. Minotaurs did a ton of work in this one, to over 200 kills for one of my units, and each of my Doombull and Gorebull got over 60 kills, so pretty decent damage there. I liked Pharaoh War's build. I think the Hammer of the Witches was a good call. Got 10 kills on Minotaurs, which effectively pays for itself right then and there. I think the Lore of Shadows Caster was an interesting choice and pretty good one. Occam's Mindrazor, very good at turning pretty crappy Empire State troops into killing machines. And overall, the only thing I'd really want to change with this build is making those Demigryph Knights with Lances, Demigryph Knights with Halberds. Those would have served them better in this one, I think. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Any Pride signing out for now.